experience with 1-point perspective, and that's great. So this will be a little bit of a review for you ideally, or if it's new, it'll be new, but hopefully it's a review. Hopefully it'll be easy peasy. So when we are looking at 1-point perspective, what are we looking at? What's going on with 1-point perspective? I'm going to put a little point. I'm going to put that 1 point into the picture. What is going on with this 1 point? And we call this a vanishing point. That red dot that I just put in there, we call that a vanishing point. What's going on with this point? That point is where everything is ending up or ending at. What do you see that's heading toward that point? We can see those lines in the street are all headed toward that point. What else? If we look at the tops of the buildings, they are all headed toward that point. Anything else? So I've also got this one here of the windows on the building and the cars. Yep, all the cars are also leading toward that point. So everything that is closer to us is getting smaller and smaller, the farther it gets away, and it's all leading to that point where it vanishes, that 1 point. So let's look at a couple images that show that 1 point, and then we're going to practice drawing our own. So I want you to look at these images for a second and try to see if you can spot where that vanishing point would be. And we're going to borrow this picture to help us out as we get started. So you can turn your paper sideways, horizontal for this. We are going to be practicing drawing our 1 point. So grab your paper, grab your ruler, grab your pencil, grab your eraser, turn your page on its side. And we're going to start with a straight line across that's going to show our horizon line. So what is a horizon line? The line that separates the sky with the land or the sea. So in this one, it's separating the water from the sky. So you can see the sky on top and the water on bottom. So we're making a very straight line, so obviously we want to use our ruler. So line up your ruler on your paper. Hold it down nice and firm with your left hand. If you're right-handed, hold down your ruler nice and firm with your left hand and draw that line with your right hand, or vice versa. If you're left-handed, hold that ruler down nice and strong with that right hand and draw your line with your left hand. If you're not being strong, holding down that ruler, it's going to wiggle on you, and your horizon line is going to be very wiggly. Once you've got that, we're going to put in that vanishing point. So maybe you remember from just a second ago on that other slide, what's the vanishing point? It's to show us where everything is ending, where everything's leading, where everything's vanishing. So on that line, on that horizon line, put that vanishing point, and your paper should look like this. If your paper looks like this, you are looking good. All right. Yours might be a street, it might be a river, it might be a bridge, whatever it is. On the left side later, we're going to put some light poles or some trees, and on the right side, we're going to put some buildings. Even if you don't feel like it, you are going to do it for this exercise anyway, because this is just practice. This is not your real artwork, so it's, you know, we're just going to follow step by step. I am going to require to see some buildings in there, so if you know, have yours be a lake, then that's fine, but you're going to have to put a building on top of that lake. So go ahead and define the left side, line up your ruler with your vanishing point. Okay, and then define the right side, line up your ruler with your vanishing point. All right, these lines are just going to go off the bottom left and off the bottom right of your page. And it'll look a little something like this. It'll look kind of just like a triangle at the bottom of your page. Remember to hold down that ruler nice and firm so you get those nice straight lines. I've added a couple lines here on the road to identify that it is a road. And you can see my lines get a little bit smaller as they get farther away, just like how my road gets a little bit smaller, well, quite a bit smaller as it gets farther away. So if you want to go ahead and put some lines to define yours as a road as well, that is perfect. Now we're going to define the left and right on the top. And this is going to be our guidelines that we're going to draw, and we're going to actually draw them a bit lower. So take your ruler and have your ruler go off the left side and off the right side of your page rather than off the top. That'll just make this look a little bit more obvious about what is happening rather than if it's a really dramatic line going off the top. Have your line going off the left and right side. Again, lining up with your ruler really carefully, holding down with your ruler with your hand, and keeping it in line with the vanishing point. And again, this is going to be our guidelines. We're going to use these to help us draw our next thing, which is going to either be buildings, trees, or lights. So let's do the left side first. Let's put either lights or trees on the left side. So line up your ruler nice and straight, and you can line it up nice and straight by using the bottom of your page as your guide to make sure it's nice and straight. Now, the bottom of your tree or the bottom of your light post is going to actually go, it's going to actually be a little bit below this line because it's going as low as the road. Okay, so it's going to go right next to the road. So draw a line going straight up and down. And then once we have a few of these, we can add some fun stuff to them to make them look like trees or light posts. So I got one line here, and you can see my light post is going to stop where my guideline is at the top, and it's going to stop where my road is at the bottom, but you can't quite see that. So let me put a couple more on here so you can see. So again, my light post is going to stop where my guideline is at the top, and it's going to go down and stop where my road is at the bottom. So now you can see a little bit easier. It's going to stop where my guideline is at the top, go all the way down, and stop where my road is at the bottom. So now I'm noticing these light poles are getting smaller and smaller as they're getting farther away as well. So if you did your line and you wanted yours to be a tree, then that's fine. All your trees are going to be exactly the same. They're just going to be getting smaller and smaller the farther and farther down the road you get, because farther away appears smaller. So go ahead and give yourself a few of the same thing on this left side. Light poles or trees is perfect. And use that top guideline. Make sure your tree or your light pole goes all the way up at the top. Some people make a mistake and have it end at the horizon. You don't want to do that. You want to be nice and tall all the way up to this guideline. So double check yours and make sure they all are going all the way up to the top of the guideline and that they are all going all the way down to the road. And that's how we know they are all the same size. All right, next we are going to have the other side be a row of buildings, and we're going to use the guideline on this other side, on this right side. So we're going to draw some lines going straight up and down on the right side, and this is going to define the space that is the width of each of these buildings, okay? So line up your ruler and get those straight lines going up and down, just like we did on the other side. And let's put some windows on the buildings to define that these are buildings, okay? The top of the window
is going to align with the vanishing point. So line up your ruler with the vanishing point and choose how high up you want your window to be. So obviously you want your window to be down a little bit from the roof, but you want to hold your ruler nice and carefully against the vanishing point. Okay, and the windows are going to line up all the same on each of these buildings. So go ahead and define the top line and decide how tall you want your window to be. And have your window go below the horizon line so that you can get a really similar shape that I have. So we got our top of our window above the horizon line, and we got our bottom of our window below the horizon line, and that's going to help you have a similar drawing to me. So these are going to be our guidelines for our windows. Now, the lines that are going straight up and down, just like how we were using the bottom of our page to make those lines straight up and down, that's what we're going to do to make the left and right sides of our window, okay? And this is going to look a little bit strange. For some people, it's going to be hard to keep these lines straight, so line up your ruler at the bottom of your page and make sure you don't let your lines, they need to be straight up and down. Make sure you don't let them get a little bit crooked on you. That is a very, very common mistake. So I'm going to define the left side and the right side of my window. Tendency is we want to make these crooked because we can see the top and bottom of the window look crooked. So our brain says, I don't like this. Our brain says a window is a square or a rectangle, and if I can't have it be a rectangle, then I'm going to do all the kinds of funny things with it. So make sure yours isn't at a little bit of an angle like this. Just double check yours. Here's an example of a photograph, so you can see this is accurate, okay? So when things get farther away, they start to look smaller, all right? So the right side of the window here is closer to us, so it's larger. The left side of the window is farther away, so it's smaller, okay? So they're still straight up and down. The left and right sides are still straight up and down, but in order for them to meet each other, the top and bottom have to be at a little bit of an angle, and that's just how it goes. Okay, so you can see here, it's just kind of making that just kind of a strange shape. So just double check yours to see that yes, my left and right are nice and straight, and my top and bottom are lined up with my vanishing point. I know it's a weird way to draw a window. So just double check yours, that your left and right side are nice and straight, and then your top and bottom are lining up with that vanishing point. And you can do as many windows as you want. If you want to add a bunch of windows, go for it. A door you can add. I added a door here. Obviously, I have the top lining up with the vanishing point, and the bottom is just lining up with the bottom of my building. If you want to leave a little bit of space, if you want to add a little space for grass or whatever, as long as you're lining up with that vanishing point, you are perfect. So go ahead and do whatever you want with yours to finish it up. You don't need to add color like I did.